Good morning and welcome to the September 11th observance here at the California Memorial. In just a few minutes, we will begin the ceremony commemorating the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. Due to the solemn nature of this ceremony, we ask that you turn off all electronic devices and respect all moments of silence. On this day in 2001, nearly 3,000 people lost their lives in the tragic events at the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and just outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania. This morning, our streets are lined with 404 American flags representing the number of police, fire, emergency services personnel, and one canine that perished on September 11th. Today's ceremony not only commemorates those who lost their lives, but also the heroic efforts of many to save lives, including the estimated 14,000 civilians evacuated from the World Trade Center complex. There is great significance in many of the actions in today's ceremony, and I would like to take a moment to explain them to you. At 8:46, you will hear actual radio dispatch calls from that tragic day in 2001. This is the exact time that the first plane hit the first tower. The radio dispatch calls will be followed by sirens and the lowering of the flag. Next, the singing of the national anthem, a wreath procession, the playing of Amazing Grace by a pipe and drum detail, a 21-gun salute by the United States Marine Corps, and the playing of taps. The fire bell will then sound 3 times in a row. This is a tradition of the fire service that reflects respect and honor to those who give their lives to their duty. It also represents the end of an emergency and the return to quarters. Kingsburg Fire Chief Dan Perkins will present the flag to honored guest, retired Port Authority of New York and New Jersey Police Detective Will Jimeno, who survived the World Trade Center attack. The flag is presented on behalf of all emergency services personnel. Detective Jimeno will then share his story of survival and learning to live again beyond September 11th. I will return to the microphone to conclude the ceremony. Thank you again for turning off all electronic devices and respecting all moments of silence.
We just had a plane crash into an overflow of the World Trade Center, transmit a second alarm, and start relocating companies into the area. Engine 6 to the Aztec. The World Trade Center, tower number 1 is on fire. The whole outside of the building was just a huge explosion. Engine 1 out, World Trade Center, 1060. Send every available ambulance, everything you got to World Trade Center now. Civilian reports from up here, a plane just crashed into the World Trade Center for your information. Trucks available. Battalion 1 to Manhattan. We have a number of floors on fire. It looked like the plane was aiming towards the building. Transmit a third alarm. We'll have the staging area at Vesey and West Street. Have the third alarm assignment go into that area. Second alarm assignment report to the building, okay?
Alright, 10-4. Second alarm assignment, 10-4.
Just for the access. Guys, there was a plane that struck the building. Marine 1, we're in the river. You got smoke, you got fire out of the north side and out now coming out of the west side of the World Trade Center, the west side.
Guy from the north side and
Marine 6 to Manhattan, urgent. You have a second plane into the other tower of the Trade Center, major fire. Marine 6, that's the other tower. Marine 6 to Manhattan. Marine 6, that plane was a large bomber-style green aircraft into the second tower, be advised. This is ready, engine, the little plane hit the
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, Detective Will Jimeno, New York Port Authority Police Department.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to first start off by saying that this is the first September 11th that I haven't been home. And my wife, Allison, who's with me today, decided to come out here after being approached by the the California 9/11 Memorial. And they told me how beautiful this was and how special it is. And I got to tell you, even though I'm away from home, I feel like I'm at home today with all my fellow Americans, all my fellow first responders, military, and it's a blessing to be here today. And as a survivor, someone who was buried under the rubble for 13 hours, it gives me hope to be here today with you and see so many people, so many young people, so many first responders. I cannot express my gratitude. But on September 11th, I was living a dream. I came here as a young boy at 2 years old from Colombia, South America, was raised to love this country, learn English, fly the American flag, and something that was embedded by my parents as immigrants here. And I came to serve in the U.S. Navy, went on to become a police officer, and service. That was my calling in life, was service. Then 9/11 happened. I was living the American dream. We had bought our first home 6 weeks before the attack in Clifton, New Jersey, 20 minutes outside New York City. My wife and I had a beautiful little girl named Bianca, 4 years old. She was 7 months pregnant with our second child. On September 11th, I went to work, or as I called it, my dream job. And what happened was the most unimaginable thing in the world was we had a war here in the United States on American soil. We responded, the Port Authority Police of New York and New Jersey. We're the department in charge of taking care of all our transportation facilities, the bridges, the airports, the tunnels, the bus terminal where I worked, and of course the World Trade Center. We responded that day. When we got down there, what I saw was literally a war zone. Indescribable. For those who were there, you understand. For those who weren't, it's something I hope you'll never have to see or have to endure in the future. But on that day, the worst day in U.S. history, I saw the best in humanity. I saw the best in Americans. I saw people putting their lives on the line. Common people, regular civilians, being brave. And I remember thinking to myself, if these civilians could be this brave, us in uniform, we have to be 3 notches above them. We became a 5-man team. Sergeant McLaughlin led our team, along with my fellow officers, Dominic Pizzulo, Christopher Amoroso, and Antonio Rodriguez. We were between the 2 towers in a concourse level. So for those who have never been to the World Trade Center, especially the young generation here, the World Trade Center with 2 large buildings connected underneath by what we call the concourse level. It's a mall level. That's where you would go to Tower 2. You could get to Tower 1 in the large lobbies. We had gone to Tower 2 to get more equipment, not knowing that Tower 2 had been in distress, because from Midtown Manhattan to downtown when we responded, the second plane had hit. So we were still in the impression that Tower 1 was the only tower hit. We were making our way back from Tower 2 after getting equipment, and we were between both towers when a huge explosion happened. I turned around from where we were walking, and I could look into the lobby of 2, and I saw a fireball the size of my house. And I remember just standing there, not knowing what to do. And one of the best pieces of advice I got when I was in the military, and something I hope you can carry with you no matter what line of work you're in, is always follow somebody into a bad situation that knows what they're doing. Your chances of coming out are greater. Well, I followed a good man, John McLaughlin. At that moment, he saw what I saw, but he thought it was a car bomb, and he saw a wall of debris coming toward us. I didn't know what to do. He said, run. Run toward the elevator shaft, toward the freight elevator that was to our right, which is a miracle that we had a doorway to our right. So Dominic started running. I followed Dominic. Sergeant McLaughlin was behind me. And unfortunately, we got around toward the freight elevator, and that's when we were buried alive. At that moment, we lost Christopher Amoroso and Antonio Rodriguez, leaving myself, my sergeant, and Dominic Pizzulo buried alive. After a little bit of time, Dominic freed himself. Instead of going out a hole that was above us 30 feet, he turned around and began trying to extract me. And at that moment, after about 15 minutes, the second tower came down, taking his life, leaving myself and my sergeant fighting for our lives for the next several hours, many, many hours actually, till 8 p.m. tonight, that evening. During that course, a lot of bad things happened. We had fireballs fall into the hole. My fellow officer Dominic Pizzulo, before he passed, pulled out his sidearm and shot toward the hole as a last-ditch effort to let somebody hear us. And that weapon cooked off. We had 15 rounds fly around us. And it was just a horrific, horrific evening. And at one point that night, and I always say, it's not my story, it's a human story, was when I wanted to die. I wanted to give up. It was late in the evening. We had been crushed, lost teammates, been burnt, been shot at, was in extreme pain because I was crushed on my entire left side. I wanted to make my peace with God. I'm Catholic, I don't preach religion, but 3 words my parents always taught me. Always have faith. Faith in your religion. If you don't have a religion, have faith in yourself. Hope. Always have hope, no matter what situation you're in. And love. Love for yourself and love for others. And with that, I closed my eyes, I made my peace with God. I said, God, thank you for 33 great years of being alive. Thank you for 6 years with my beautiful wife, Allison, 4 years with my little girl, Bianca, for my parents who brought me to this great country. But I said, I'm going to ask you for 2 things, God. One is to somehow, some way be there. Let me be there to see the birth of my daughter, Olivia, who was slated to be born in December. And it was really heart-wrenching not knowing that I wouldn't be there. And the second, and it's okay if you laugh, I said, God, when I get to heaven, because I felt everybody was going to heaven that day, because these cowards, these terrorists attacked innocent human people, Americans who were trying to make a better life for their families, was when I get to heaven, if I can have a glass of water, because we were caked in concrete. And I closed my eyes, and I was going to give up. I was going to die. And at that moment, I had a vision, a dream, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I don't preach religion, but at that moment, I had a vision, and I see a person coming toward me with a white long robe, no face, brown hair. Over his left shoulder in the distance, I saw a pond with trees, real tranquil. Over his right shoulder, tall, endless sea of grass. And I knew who it was. For me, it was Jesus. He's coming toward me, and you can laugh. I don't know what, I looked down, and what does he have in his hand? A bottle of water. I can't tell you if it was Poland Spring or what it was, but at that moment, I had a desire to fight for my life. Because at that moment, I realized if I had given up, I would have given up on my sergeant, because he was buried further back. I was closer to the hole, and I got a big mouth. If I would have given up, I would have given up on my family, because I didn't fight hard enough to get home to them. If I would have given up, I would have given up on my country, America. But most of all, I would have given up on myself. And at that point, I said with some colorful words to the sergeant, we're going to get out of this hellhole, or we're going to die trying. Because at that moment, I realized we're in charge of our own lives. And if I would have given up, the cowards, the terrorists would have won, and I wasn't going to allow that to happen. If I died that day, I die on my terms. And I've been influenced and had the motivation from other people since 9/11. Cancer patients who say, I know I'm going to die, but I'm going to live my life till the very end. And I want that message to resonate with everyone here today. Live your life no matter what. Don't pity yourself. Pick yourself up. Move forward. That's what we did as a nation on that day. The worst attack in U.S. history, the darkest day in United States history, we came together as Americans to overcome the evil that tried to bring us to our knees. Since then, I was fortunate enough to recover after being buried 13 hours. At 8 o'clock that night, I heard voices in the distance, United States Marine Corps, can anybody hear us? There was 2 Marine reservists and a civilian who broke through the line because they stopped all the first responders from coming in because it was so dangerous, and they found us. NYPD ESU Truck 1 came in, Scott Strauss, Patty McGee, and a civilian that came off the street who was a former EMT jumped into this hole, which is undescribably dangerous, and put their lives on the line for 3 hours to get me out. It was a hard rescue. They finally got me out. The sergeant would come out the next day, but that night when they pulled me out of the hole was the first time I cried. I cried because when I asked where everything is, because I couldn't see the buildings, they said, it's all gone, kid. We never knew the towers came down. And I felt like we failed. They took me to Bellevue Hospital. I cried again because it was close to midnight, and I asked, where is everybody? And they're like, you're it. The loss of life on that day was extreme. And that's why we as Americans need to never forget. Never forget all the people at the World Trade Center, at the Pentagon, at the 9/11 Flight 93 Memorial. We can never forget all those that were lost that day. And we must never forget all the men and women from that day that fought for our country on the war on terrorism and are serving today in our military, in your communities, day in, day out, without asking for as much as a thank you. We just do the job because we love this country, we love our communities. So today, I'm very honored to be here in Clovis and in the Fresno area, to be with you, my fellow Americans. And what you've done here with this beautiful memorial is incredible. Again, this is my first time being away from my home, but I feel like I'm at home. This memorial, the towers, the statue of the firefighters, the statue of Maura Smith from the NYPD, honoring our veterans who have been wounded in action, the canines, is just an incredible, incredible thing. And we need everybody here to not only just say never forget, we need you to pass this on to our future generations. Because I want everybody to remember something. That American flag is not made out of cloth. It is made out of the blood of true patriots that come from all walks of life, all skin colors, all religions, all political views. We are free because of that flag. Now I always say if a kid that came from Colombia can love this country that much, those of you who are blessed to be born in this country, you should cherish it, you should adore it. I get to travel the world and I have many people from different countries always say, one day I want to come to America. Tony Blair said it the best, the former Prime Minister of Great Britain. Any country more people are trying to get into than out, they're very special. And that is us, the United States of America. On that note, I want to thank you and I want to leave you off with this quote from Edmund Burke, the British philosopher. All that is needed for the triumph of evil is for good men to stand by and do nothing. Well, on 9/11, there were good men and women. And today, here in Clovis and Fresno area, we have good men and women. So make sure that you're doing your part to make this world a better place by practicing being kind and remembering those three words: faith, hope, and love. God bless each every one of you. God bless all those in the military, my brothers and sisters, first responders, in the police department, the fire department, EMTs. You guys are my real true heroes. You will always be my heroes. And remember something, you deserve happiness. Through your service, make sure that you're happy. Don't let the things that we see and do affect your life, because you deserve happiness. You wear that uniform proudly, and we love you for it. We cherish you guys. And again, God bless each and every one of you. God bless America. Have a great day. Thank you very much.
The folded flag is emblematic of the tri-cornered hat worn by the patriots of the American Revolution. A properly proportioned flag will fold 13 times on the triangles representing the original 13 colonies. When folded, no red or white stripe is to be evident, leaving only the blue field with stars. The first fold of the flag is a symbol of life. The second fold is a symbol of the belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veterans departing the ranks who gave a portion of their lives for the defense of the country. The fourth fold represents the weaker nature of a man as we turn towards divine guidance in times of war and peace. The fifth fold is a tribute to the country. As Stephen Decatur stated, "Our country, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong." The sixth fold is for where people's hearts lie. It is with their heart that they pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. The seventh fold is a tribute to its armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that they protect their country and their flag against all her enemies. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death, that we may see the light of day. The ninth fold is a tribute to mothers as they raise the men and women who have made this country great. The 10th fold is a tribute to the Father, for he too has given his sons and daughters for the defense of their country since they were first born. The 11th fold represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon, and glorifies in the Hebrews' eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The 13th fold, or when the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding them of their nation's motto, "In God we trust."